Just a brief discussion of the EDA's relationship to the town and county, because this is kind of a different animal. Just the history. In late 1967, Town Council of the Warren County Board of Supervisors, by reciprocal mirror ordinances, jointly formed what the full name is the Industrial Development Authority of the Town of Front Royal and the County of Warren, Virginia, pursuant to state statutes. There's a whole chapter in the state code devoted to the Industrial Development Revenue Bond Act, Revenue and Bond Act. This, technically, our local EDA is the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority, but for the last close to 20 years now, it has been doing business as the Economic Development Authority, or the EDA.
Doug, wasn't that in part because the Industrial Development Authority, there's not many industry now that the EDA works with?
Well,
so they dropped that industrial.
It's more than that, because back when Stephen Heavener was the executive director, the EDA board decided that it wanted to exercise its full statutory authorities under the state code and get into more than just industrial development. The state code grants pretty broad powers to IDAs, EDAs, to get into all sorts of economic development activities besides just setting up industries. And the EDA decided at that time that it wanted to get into that. Before that, it had just been mainly trying to court big industry. DuPont was the crown jewel at that time, and it decided to get into other spheres of activity. Okay. And so it got into that. The purpose of EDAs is to pursue economic development for the greater town and county community. The two ordinances of the town and the county just say we're setting it up, and it shall have all powers granted it under the state code. So it's a very broad plenary power. State
code is always broad.
Yes, and it allows the localities to narrow the powers, and our town and county have decided not to do that. The EDAs are given considerably greater state authority to invest monies, purchase properties, and manage economic facilities such as industrial sites and rental properties than our towns, cities, and counties for the benefit of local governments and the local community. However, EDAs may not operate ongoing concerns such as retail businesses. So the EDA is not allowed to buy up Element Restaurant and operate the restaurant. It can own the building and lease out the building for a restaurant owner, but it can't operate.
Like it does with the Afton with the town. We cannot own the property. We gave it to the EDA. They marketed it. At the conclusion, we'll sign off on it, and it'll be taken care of.
Right. And that was a good example.
But the question would be, and someone asked me if the EDA could actually borrow money on our property that's in their control. Like the building next door, if it was worth $3 million and they were handling it, could money be borrowed against that property?
Could the EDA borrow money against that property? Yeah, they're the owners of it.
Well, is it because the town gave them ownership, or?
Yeah, what we did,
we give them actually ownership because we can't own it?
Well, we owned Old Town Hall.
Right.
The EDA, Barrows owned, Frank Barrows owned the Afton Inn, and we did a three-way swap. We swapped Town Hall for the Afton Inn.
And the EDA took care of all the paperwork.
Yeah,
closing
and the EDA then, Barrows got the Old Town Hall, the EDA got the Afton Inn. The Afton Inn still owns the Afton Inn, but it's leasing it out to Cornerstone Construction. Cornerstone Construction is revamping the Afton Inn, and then when it's completely redeveloped, after the end, the EDA will sell it presumably to Cornerstone, or to Cornerstone's, whoever Cornerstone wants to sell it out to, and the EDA will get its money back.
But then that's after a 5-year lapse.
Yes,
To make sure they're doing what they're supposed to
doing
do.
what they're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Yes. This is important. The EDA's operational and investment losses or failures do not carry over to the local government or their taxpayers or operate against the credit worthiness of the local governments. The current town council members have seen this, new people may not. The EDA issues bonds frequently, and these bonds are used to invest. Good examples, the new hospital. They issued out a...
Kaiser Road Apartments.
I'm sorry?
Kaiser Road Apartments.
Kaiser Road Apartments. It was close to $100 million bond that the EDA issued to finance the new hospital. If, for whatever reason, Valley Health goes belly up and the EDA has to eat that bond, town's not on the hook for that.
Where does the money come from?
Banks loan the
Okay.
money. Banks and the EDA.
So in reality, the EDA could go bankrupt.
Yes. And we are not on the hook, and the banks eat it.
And also, we don't make any funds. There was a rumor going around that we passed up $100,000 a month when we did the hospital. We get not one penny
No.
from any bonds. We're only authorizing the EDA to move forward along with the county.
That is in the federal tax code. Our only function to approve these EDA bonds is to say that it is being used for a legitimate purpose.
Yes.
And a legitimate community purpose. A hospital is a legitimate
That keeps
community
them from
purpose.
going out and borrowing $10 million bond on something that's frivolous.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And they get a lower, the EDA can get a lower interest rate because it's considered a municipal bond, a government bond. So it's good that way. EDAs, this is important, are themselves independent political subdivisions of the Commonwealth of Virginia, just like the town and the county. And they are capable of borrowing money, issuing bonds, suing and being sued, hiring employees, hiring contractors, etc. And EDAs are by statute governed by boards of directors who themselves are appointed by the local governments which created them. Now I want to get into this.
Because we're not involved anymore as far as appointing.
Right. And here's how we got to the way it is right now. In 2012, Town Council decided that it wanted to pursue full funding of tourism, both for the town and the whole community. The way I recall this and the way I'm going back through the record, most of the EDA's economic development was out in the corridor region. And most of our economic development was occurring either downtown or was in the future going to be slated out in the eastern part of the county. And immediately, our focus seemed to be on tourism. That was a big deal to the town. It wasn't quite as big to the county. And at the same time, Town Council wanted to pursue funding a town director of community development whose focus would be not only on tourism but also economic development for the town. We wanted to split it up. Let the county be responsible for the EDA, and we would be responsible for our own community development.
And this is where Felicia Hart has evolved.
That's where, originally she was a contract,
Yes.
independent contractor for the town. She did a good job, so the town decided to hire her full-time and make her in charge of the whole department.
Because in around 12, I don't remember the exact date, we had put, I think, $50,000 per year through the budget. And then once we finally reached 150, we decided to move forward. We contracted with Felicia, and then I think last year before last, we made Felicia department head with tourism
Right.
and development. So, but she's not operating like the EDA operates.
She's under the town council's wing, under Joe's wing.
Yes, and having said that, The board's director, which was Jennifer McDonald, she was guided by the board. The board made decisions. She only made things happen, supposedly, to make things. Felicia, she's under Joe's, and she's to make things happen, not as vigorously pursuing $1 million factories and all this stuff like the EDA, developing downtown and surrounding Jackson Street and throughout the town.
She's doing more micro business approach.
Yes.
The EDA is doing a macro business approach.
Yes,
It's
because
a different
town
focus.
council could not afford a full-blown EDA.
No. So pursuant to a written memorandum of understanding between the county and the town and the county, beginning in fiscal year 2013-14 and thereafter, the town council appropriated 100% of the community development's budget, and from that point on, the county appropriated and budgeted 100% of the EDA's operational budget. And as a result, the Board of Supervisors appointed all of the EDA's Board of Directors from that point on. So operationally, beginning in 2013, the town had no more operational control, if you will, over the EDA. So that's when we, I don't want to say severed ties, but in terms of any sort of control over the EDA, that's when we backed out.
Doug, I don't know if that's a proper word, control, because neither the town or the county has ever had control.
No, that's not a good word.
Yeah, that's not a good word. The board actually is made up of, I think, three town residents now, and 3 county residents just by whoever wanted to serve. But the council or the board cannot expect their appointees to stand up on the table and demand, because it's a group discussion and a group idea, and they pursue whatever the factory or whatever it is that's on the table. They do it as a whole, as a town resident or a county. And keep it in mind, even the town residents are county residents, so.
The only control, and it's not control, is the Board of Supervisors appoints the Board of Directors for the EDA for 4-year terms. And the only, it wouldn't be control, but if at the end of 4 years, the Board of Supervisors wants to appoint a new Board of Directors member, they can do that at that time. Other than
Sure.
that, that's the only control.
But the Board of Supervisors are also open to anybody that the council has that they think would serve on the board
Sure,
in the best interest of the town and county.
sure.
Just want to get that out there.
Yeah, I'm
because I
sure the
know I'm
Board of
being recorded over
Supervisors.
here.
I'm sorry. Somebody.
No, I was just, yeah.
Along with that,
Mm-hmm.
explain to me the 70-30 rule on projects. Is that related to the EDA or is that a separate agreement?
It's a separate agreement.
7228.
It's changed over the years a couple times, but it's a separate agreement.
I just use 70-30 because it's easier for me to
I'm
remember.
calculate too.
Yes.
That's a
I'm
shifting
usually doing
amount.
that too.
Yeah, that's a shifting amount.
Every $100, $30.
We're not
It's a
doing that
separate
anymore.
ruling.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
That's not, we don't do that anymore, Bill. That was under, when we were part of the EDA that we did the
Yeah, I was on
7228.
board then, that's why.
Yeah. That's why we still owe money on those 3 roads out there. Because of that agreement.
But we could always change what we're doing.
But I thought we were still in the fair funding. I mean, we just did Leach's Run. And we're at, what formula are we at, Joe?
It's 67-33.
Yeah,
is
so
what we're
we're
at.
still in that shared
But
formula.
It's different though. That was the 3 of us did the project all as a
Okay.
unit.
Okay.
Before, we were bound by that in
were
order to
bound
get Torrey
to
Drive, whatever. That
Torrey
was
Drive,
agreement.
whatever to do it.
Yeah, this one that you're talking about with that one is, we all came together and agreed to that
Okay.
for that particular issue.
Just want to clear my thought, make sure.
The executive director of the EDA is appointed to and responsible by the board of directors of the EDA and manages the day-to-day activities of the EDA, much like the town manager for the town. That's it. I'll answer
You
any-
did a wonderful job, Doug.
Doug,
Great.
Thank you.
Before Doug,
Uh-huh.
before I forget this, because it's going to come up later as far as something that we're going to do. There's one thing that we need to do, and Joe, this is my fault. I know that we have an agreement with the EDA that they have a checklist when people want to come into the community.
Mhm.
We need to make sure, whoever the new director is, that Joe, you, or your designee needs to make sure that we know the amount of water, the sewer, and that prior to the time they issue an approval to whoever comes in here. Because since we have all the utilities, we need to know, and the people on the other side, other than the EDA, needs to know who they need to get in contact with and not rely on what the EDA tells them. That's what happened on 2 or 3 issues over the last 10 years. They were never told the facts of what our water and sewer policies were.
That's a good point.
And we need to make sure that whoever this new director is, that they come to us at the same time they're negotiating with another client.
That was
Because-
one of the issues, Gene, that I had
I
sitting
know.
on that board for years.
Mhm.
That our predecessors did not inform the EDA properly, because they were requesting, we had to tell the town exactly what the requirements were, and they weren't getting the feedback properly in a timely manner to process. That was the issue that me and a former mayor got into a hot and heated discussion over.
And I think, Gene, it has been resolved, I may be wrong, but
It has.
the EDA has been told how much water they have in a certain area. As far as us meeting the prospective buyer or,
No, I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying though that if you have John Doe comes in here and wants to
yeah, I think they already
develop.
have all that information.
Well, I know they have it, but they haven't been using it though. That's where the
They
issues
got
are.
it, so.
That's why I'm saying we need to lay out those rules through Joe, that he has himself or a designee that when you come in as a client, that you know that we're gonna do the in-town, out-of-town,
Rate,
whatever,
yeah.
and the cost. See, the cost has been the issue. They never tell them what's gonna cost for a 4-inch water tap or a 4 or 6-inch sewer tap. And then all of a sudden they get hit with a $30,000 this and a $40,000 that nobody's ever told them because they never talked to anybody like Joe in our water and sewer
Yeah,
department.
the last occasion was the corridor. Somebody had asked about the corridor or something, and they had given somebody double the rates, and come to find out.
That's right.
If you're in that corridor, it's single rate.
And that's what I'm
I think
saying,
they
they're not going to the
Public
right
Works
people
rather than-
Yeah.
to get the proper answers. And that's why sometimes we lose those clients because they're not told the true facts of issues.
Yeah, we're trying to, that was one of the things we did in the corridor, put the water and sewer rates and all the rules in our town code so it's online. So that won't solve all the problems, but at least a lot of people know to look online.
You know,
to
it's
at least-
there, but you gotta look at it.
Yeah, you gotta
We
look
need
at it.
somebody like, you
I
know.
agree, but we're trying to make it as transparent and
I
upfront as
understand
we
that,
can.
yeah.